Well, hello there, and welcome to Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. We're so happy that you're here today.
Ah, that's good, Joe.
You did it! Congratulations! World's best cup of coffee. Great job, everybody.
We're in a fight against robots from another planet who want to wipe us out and take the Earth.
If we succeed, there will not be any shield in the future.
Something even worse could rise up. We can't disrupt the timeline.
Hydra, Red Skull, Super Soldier Serum. Sounds like something out of the funny papers.
You have no idea.
Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
GVN presents Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. Today's binge:
Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Welcome back to another episode of Kathy. Excuse me, I'm giving her top billing now.
Well, and so you should.
Okay.
So go ahead.
All right, so let's do that. Okay, so Kathy and Martin's Coffee Binge. I have been usurped. I'm your host, Martin, and as always, I introduce my lovely wife, Kathy, who really does know her onions, from Vidalia to white to yellow and all points in between.
I do know those onions.
And that, of course, would be my lovely wife, Kathy. Good morning, Kathy.
And good morning to you, my darling angel. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good for that 3 or 4 hour sleep I got.
I know.
I wasn't like somebody who got to lay around. Of course, you didn't really sleep, but we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So anyway, just like we start every show, I open the floor for my wife to talk about what she wants to talk about, and I believe sleep is one of those, or lack of.
We should probably do that.
Right.
Talk about that today.
Okay, so there you. As always, the floor is yours.
Why, thank you, sir. Well, I have not had any sleep lately, and sleep deprivation is causing me lots of difficulties.
It's a real thing. It's not.
It really is. And I've had a lot on my mind, but not only that, but my son, who is our son, who is autistic, and
I've been given property back.
yeah, he's his son. No, because he hasn't gone to sleep. But of course, nothing is the same for him. He doesn't have the constant walking around that he does when he's at school, so I don't think he's as worn out. And because of his, we can't really take him anywhere because everything's kind of off limits, and he has autism, and we don't know if he has any underlying health conditions that we might not be aware of right now. And I don't want to take the risk in putting him out there for him to get all the germs. Though I will say this, that his hair was so long, I thought he was one of the Beatles. So he had, as soon as the barber shops and beauty shops or whatever have opened up with the restrictions of only one person and they're at a time and wearing the mask and all that, here's the big plus. He put the mask on, which I was shocked. He not only put it on, but he also kept it on for the entire
This was really
haircut.
the first time, other than our little 2-minute trial, that he put the mask on, because he wasn't leaving, so there was no need to wear the mask.
And I was very, very, very surprised and shocked and thrilled that he kept it on the entire time. And he got a beautiful haircut. And boy, just having his hair out of his eyes and that big mop off his head made me feel better. I know it had to be making him feel better because it was 90 degrees yesterday and it's 85 today.
So basically, one of us looks good.
Yeah, because you still look like you gotta go. You gotta go.
I know, but I won't be able to keep the mask on. I'll cry.
All the whining and the crying that would happen normally for Jeffrey, I'm sure you will be happy to help us.
And of course, the other problem is you won't let me go by myself because
because you don't tell them to cut your hair, and then you come home and you look just like
I shouldn't have to tell them to cut my hair. It's the same woman that's been cutting my hair from day one.
It doesn't matter. She says, "How do you want it?" And you go, "Oh, just take a little bit
No,
off."
that's not what I said. I always tell her, just do whatever you normally do.
And
it's not my fault. For some reason, she doesn't do what she normally does when it's just me.
I just don't feel like this is true, but that's okay because I know you don't like your hair short either.
No, I had that back when I was a kid, and my mother thought the best way to do a haircut was to just shave it basically to just something that would take the lint off her couch. And that way she figured, hey, if there was lice about, I can see those suckers, so it's fine.
Oh my God, please stop with all
But
that.
I mean,
All right.
so once I actually had control of my hair, right, I stopped getting haircuts regularly.
Well,
and it's still kind of the case, so I have less hair.
yeah, I don't know what the heck's going on. But anyway, we're going to get... I just keep thinking my husband's going to start going, Marty!
Yeah, with the gray hair, the wild gray hair, yeah.
Anyway, and then there was something else I was going to discuss.
No, I'm not aware.
Sleep deprivation and
Right,
haircuts.
and haircuts.
But they were all good. And that part went well. Though my problem is that I also could not get to sleep last night. And so my fantastic, wonderful husband allowed me to stay in bed until I rolled out of there and hit the floor.
Right.
So
And that's
my
fine.
son didn't think that was a good
No,
idea.
he never does.
He decided that I should wake up as soon as he did today. So whatever. Anyway,
But he
so,
was up relatively early for him, so that was good.
He was, thank God. And maybe we'll get a little... Yeah, but he just took a 2-hour nap, so...
Oh, well, never mind then.
That didn't really help out. All right, so I digress, and now we need to get back to business here.
Oh.
So, the business of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay, yep, so we're up to episode 2, which was Know Your Onions. So, okay, so let's just... we're going to do this a little different. Last time I did a recap, and my lovely wife has, and rightfully so, has mentioned that when I do a recap, especially for the podcast, that it's kind of eliminated a reason for anyone to want to watch it.
Because you tell the whole story.
Right, so, and I do that, I do a recap on my articles for Geek Vibes Nation, so that should be sufficient. So we're not going to do that this time. We're going to just kind of talk it out.
Which I like better.
Okay, so we're going to start. Okay, so matter of fact, we just watched again Know Your Onions. What are your impressions of the episode?
Well, it brings a lot of questions into my mind. First of all, 3 or 4 things. All right, first of all, I really want to know where Fitz is and who's he with. Is he with...
That's the same thing you said last week.
I still want to know where he is.
Because
I want to know where he is, and is he with future Enoch? Is he with Hunter? Is he with their child?
We'll get into that theory.
Gemma and his child, because she don't seem to be worried about it right this minute, and she knows she's got to have a kid.
Deke.
So
Deke's still there.
I wanted to call him Zeke.
Deke is still there, so we're assuming.
So I'm feeling like
that whole thing is still in play, because if they didn't have a child, he shouldn't be there.
And then again,
but then again, time's that whole weird thing
right.
Anyway, which again we'll get into.
Anyway. So now I want to find out why the wave of. I want to know why it's a wave of time that they're having to surf on. And I want to know how I realize they don't know how long the wave is, but do they know where the wave's going?
Well, see, and that's again, those are things we're going to get into here in a bit. But one thing that is for certain, and what we'll find out, is that apparently whatever mechanism the chronocoms are using is basically the same thing that they're using.
And why is that?
Why is it? Well, of course, again, I'm not for certain, because I thought that the work that they did, once they got to Enoch at the end of season 6, was separate from. I mean, that's the main reason they kind of separated themselves apart anyway, because they wanted to make sure the Chronicons didn't know what they were doing. Right. So I'm not sure exactly why it is that they apparently are using unless Enoch said, okay, we have to design this because we need to follow the Chronicons, so we have to have the same basically time of contrivance.
Yeah. Right.
But again, we'll get into some of that. Okay, so as far as the episode goes, and you and I have discussed this previously, well, we're going to do it again. I kind of broke this down as like the best character performance of the episode. Okay, before we get to the star of this second episode, something actually I was meaning to ask you. The phrase "Know Your Onions," were you familiar with it?
No, not exactly.
No, I said I'd heard. I think I had heard it from my mother once, but I had to look it up.
And what does it mean?
It's just basically, it's basically like you're saying you know your stuff, that you're smart. Mm-hmm. I said I didn't know what that meant. I said I'm not sure exactly where it came from and what the reference is. I probably
the National Onion Institute. And
promoting
sorting.
onions everywhere.
Yes.
Okay, so like I said, we're talking about kind of who was the star of this particular episode. Like I said, and I thought it was Patton Oswalt as Koenig. Like I said, he got to react to a whole lot of different things that he was being told, and we'll get into the whole question of why he's being told most of this stuff. But of course, he's still from 1930, so he had certain opinions about women, and unfortunately, they came out of his mouth. Which, of course, like I said, Daisy didn't think too highly of him last episode, and of course, when they had brought the woman in red who had gave Freddie the vial to make his delivery and got shot, they brought him back, and he told her that he said the doctor was coming to take care of her.
Right.
So she starts to get the bullet out of him on his bar.
Right.
So of course he's looking at it and said, she's probably going to die because that dame. And of course Gemma tells her, I'm a doctor, not a dame.
Right.
Which,
Dr. McCoy.
Right, as I said, right, she was breaking into McCoyisms.
Yeah.
Because she also said the same thing when she was later on when she's going to do the research. And
She said she was a
biochemist, not
yeah.
a bird, because he said when she asked for 90% or 90 proof or above alcohol, he said, I like how this bird sings. I'm a biochemist, not a bird.
Right.
Said she was hitting with her Dr. McCoyisms.
Yeah.
But like I said, I also liked it when later on when the Chronicons came and visited, and Gemma had left the bullet sitting in that little shot glass. He went ahead and drank the shot down along with the bullet.
Right.
That's one way to get the lead out.
Or to get the lead in.
Yeah, so I was looking for a snare shot there.
Okay,
Anyway.
I'll give you one.
Okay, so like I said, I thought Patton Oswalt did a great job in this episode, and he had a lot to do. Though again, I thought they spilled their guts to him an awful lot, and like I said, we'll get to that. Also, I thought Gemma, Elizabeth Henstridge, had a good part in this.
Yeah, and I know you discussed this a little bit, and we've talked about a little bit about how she and May are both acting a little bit strange.
Well, that's a fan theory with Gemma, and we're going to get to that in a bit. And I don't necessarily agree with that particular.
I don't either because I think Gemma is also trying to concentrate on the job at hand, so she can get back to Fitz at some point.
And at this point, because she has most of the knowledge of what's going on, she's got kind of a little out on her shoulders. So, of course, like I said, I also kind of liked how again when she was doing the research on that little thing she found on the girl's foot, that she kind of professor from Gilligan's Island at just grabbing whatever she could find from the bar to make a makeshift lab to figure out what it was. That was another thing with Koenig that I liked, is when she isolated the element and started going through the whole scientific jargon of how she did it. And Koenig told her, can we just kind of cut to the chase? I'd like to open this present before Christmas. And I say that was kind of, I figured, kind of what most dumbasses would have said to anybody who's going on real smart about what they're talking about.
Yes.
Said, yep. And I think it's not the first time. I'm pretty sure that her and Fitz have been told. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that that's what Ward would tell them when they'd start going on all scientific ease. Right. He'd tell them, would you speak English so I understand you? So that's kind of what Koenig was doing there. Okay, so she had scraped the little bead of whatever it was off her shoe and analyzed it. And I said, this part actually, you and I had surmised last week about what that was.
We knew it was the part of the super soldiers serum.
And which part did we say it was? You commented about what color it was.
Yeah, I said it was green.
Right, and what color was the super soldier serum that Captain America took?
Blue.
Okay, so then we knew last week that was most likely the first one that went to the Red Skull.
Right, because also I thought that the guy that,
the same guy who created that one also created the Captain America one.
Correct.
But he said, so basically that vial that Freddie was delivering is one of the elements of the original super soldier serum.
Right.
Which is the one that went to Johann Schmidt, who is the Red Skull. So, of course, now, knowing that, Daisy is thinking, well, we need to stop him from doing it. He said, hey, we stopped Freddy, we stopped the Red Skull, we stopped Hydra, and of course, Coulson's telling her that, yeah, you do that, but then you're also stopping S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
Because S.H.I.E.L.D. was formed to stop Hydra. And that's not, our job's not to do that. That's what the Chronocrons are trying to do. We don't want to do their job for them.
But their end game is different. The Chronocrons' end game, the reason they're trying to stop all this from happening, because they don't want their planet to be destroyed.
No, they don't care about that. Their planet's destroyed. They want to turn the Earth into Chronica.
Well, that's what I meant.
No,
I meant... Well,
that was the original plan. They wanted to go back and prevent their planet from being destroyed.
Right.
That's no longer the plan. The plan now is
just take
over Earth, and they can't do that with S.H.I.E.L.D. there. So get rid of S.H.I.E.L.D., then you have free reign to take over Earth.
Right.
And by doing what Daisy was wanting to do, you're basically doing the job for the Chronocrons for them.
Right.
Which, like I said, and you can understand that there's, you're going to save some lives doing that, but you're going to open up a whole nother Pandora's box that you're not ready for.
Right.
Okay, so.
Because now you're changing all the timelines.
Right, and you don't
Everything.
know. And
you don't know.
She originally talked about, hey, we'll go back and face it just like we always do. Well, Jim is saying, when you're facing the future, you don't even know what it is.
Right.
So you're going to be hard pressed.
It's one thing if you already know where you're going back to.
Right, but in this case, when you do that, you don't know what you're going back to. Okay, so we had talked about the fact that they seem to be sharing a whole lot of information with Koenig.
Right.
So why do you think that was okay?
I think because all the Koenigs are so invested into S.H.I.E.L.D. anyway, and this is probably why. Because they were held with secrets, or they had to hold secrets since the 1930s, starting with is that their grandfather or their father? That's their grandfather.
That has to be grandfather, because he said your grandchildren.
Right, grandchildren, right. So their grandfather was...
See, and of course that gets into that whole time loop thing that you and I were discussing before, is perhaps the only reason they got into that is because they came back from the future into the past to kind of steer him in the right direction, which you almost would think was the case, because, again, they're not holding back nothing. They're telling, yeah, we're from the future, we're from S.H.I.E.L.D., and, of course, Enoch's sitting there telling him, yeah, your grandkids are going to be interested in this and that. So, what the heck? What are you doing telling them all that for? Right. But, of course, like you said, if nothing changes, they're going to end up in that direction anyway.
Right.
But I still think, again, just like it's totally changing the subject. Star Trek episode. Star Trek, I think it was The Voyage Home, where Scotty gives this guy the formula for transparent aluminum. And Dr. McCoy's saying, hey, by giving him this formula, aren't you changing the future? Well, how do we know he didn't invent the thing? That's just the point. You don't know he didn't. Why are you just giving it to him? Same thing here. You don't know exactly if you should have done that or not. Yeah. You're making that assumption.
Right.
And like I say, at least in their case, they got a lot more background detail knowing about the Koenigs.
Right.
Well, maybe that's an easier choice.
Right.
But it still seems kind of reckless with time. And actually, they do the same thing with Freddy a little bit. I mean, they basically told him, yeah, you're going to be the father. Gideon Malek's going to cause the death of a whole bunch of people. So why are you telling him all of that? Though they said you did help him know what the name of his son when he has one, which I thought was kind of nice. But yeah, it said that they're being kind of willy-nilly with the information they're giving out, and I'm sure maybe they'll explain maybe later why they felt that was okay. I mean, even Enoch does it with Koenig again at the end. He
just giving him all the information. Though, yeah, whatever. So that's that.
Well, like I said, like in Koenig's case, actually even in Malek's case, even though they don't like what happens, it almost has to happen, just for S.H.I.E.L.D. to be formed as far as what Malek does. That's the reason they couldn't really interfere in it.
Right.
Okay, so we was talking about Freddy. Mac and Deke are with Freddy, and they keep telling him we're trying to help him. Why do you think it is that he doesn't seem to want their help?
Maybe he knows already more than he's letting loose of, because, and I don't know who the chick in the red dress is.
And, I don't remember, even though I think if you look it up online, they'll tell you her name. I don't remember them ever mentioning her name so far.
Well, where does she appear in the comic books?
I'm not familiar. Which doesn't mean she's not there.
But that's why I'm asking. I'm just wondering, is somewhere in Captain America, because this is the time that
just before all that Captain America thing happens. But you know that apparently she's a member of Hydra because she's the one who gave him the. And that's another thing. How come she had like 4 vials of serum there? How come she only gave him 1? And maybe she's got multiple carriers.
Yeah, that's what
couriers.
That's what I was thinking. That maybe maybe he's the only one that was successful in.
Right. And that's another thing. When when she gave him 1, there was 4 of them. She got shot. What happened to the case with the rest of them?
Well, I remember that it fell to the ground, and I thought a bunch of them broke.
Oh, wait, it's very possible. I mean, I'd have to relook if they broke, but that would explain why. I mean, because otherwise, Gemma would have had much of a bigger sample to work with.
Right.
But as you say, because she only gave Freddie the 1, I think she must have planned on giving it to multiple people to make sure it got through one way or another. That way, you split it up 4 ways, you're more likely to get 1 delivered. But he did not want. In fact, basically, once Mac and them drove him out and lost the cops, so to his thinking, he said, "Take the stuff out of the car. You guys go ahead and leave. I'm going out."
Right.
And of course, Mac said, "No, we need to make sure you deliver whatever it is you're delivering."
Right.
And of course, he kept trying to tell Mac that it was just liquor, and Mac said,
"He's like,
no, I don't believe it." And of course, he doesn't want Mac looking through it, and mainly he doesn't want Mac looking through it
because he doesn't want to find the bottle that he had that he stuck the tube in.
But of course, he also doesn't want whoever he's making delivery to sit there and think that, hey, you've been going through our stuff. Which again, I mean, not that they really cared about the rest of the liquor. All they wanted was the one that had the vial in it.
But he snatched it up though before he left in the car.
Oh, well, of course, that's the reason why he was able to complete the delivery.
Right.
But I thought it was interesting that he was fighting so hard not to get any help there. Okay, so May.
Yeah.
We talked about that woman's acting strange, and like I said, and almost there are different scenes where Enoch was talking to her, and I can swear, like I said, if you ever watch Star Trek: The Next Generation and watch how Data reacts when he's analyzing something, she was doing the same thing. She was turning her head, kind of tilting her head to the side, thinking about what you're saying before she responds. It was even the same thing when she was fighting him. Said he would land a blow and she would kind of react to it, think about it a second, and then, of course, even with Enoch's strength, May's a better fighter. I mean, even though he downloaded the Hunter
the Hunter protocol or the Hunter program.
Right, the Hunter attack package or whatever you call it.
Yeah, attack package.
Right.
And see, I thought, of course, you said, okay, the Chronocoms brought Hunter. I thought you were talking about Hunter the Hunter, who was a good fighter too.
Because he was talking about just because of the fact that most of the Chronocoms, most of them were anthropologists, but they only were reclassified into hunters when this whole Chronocom thing broke down. So so basically, I don't know if he stuck a disc in or whatever, but he got himself a nice little upgrade to the combat package.
I want to go with it wasn't a disc.
It was a floppy.
Yeah.
It was a 3.5-inch floppy.
Sure it was. I'm going to go with
So it was high density. It was 1.44. So I'm showing my geek here. Okay, so anyway, so
you did that with the Star Trek comments. So keep on.
Well, I mean,
keep it up.
So anyways, like I said, and of course, I'm not sure if during her surgery, if Enoch slipped a little Chronocon software in there.
It's either that or she's just not right because she was dead.
For just a little bit. We all know how that can affect
And maybe
you.
she got a little drop of, she could have got a little drop of alien, blood in her so that, like Daisy and Coulson had at one point.
I don't know. See, because the weird thing is, of course, May has always been able to control her emotions especially when she's in combat.
Well, I was thinking that she's kind of emotionless, pretty much, but not when it comes to Coulson or.
So, I mean, not to this extent. I mean, she's basically because she said, "I don't feel anything."
Right.
Said,
and maybe that's what they knocked out of her. Here's your feelings. We got rid of them.
So
we put them in this box over here.
Well, see, and that's another thing.
Oh, we put them in Gemma's box.
So see, and that's
music box.
Okay, so that's another thing that when Gemma told Enoch to give her the sedative, she sat there and rammed the needle into his arm because it wasn't going to take it.
All right.
But Gemma comes back and tells her to give it, and she takes it, lays down, no problem. Said, and I don't know exactly what's going on there.
Maybe
but,
there's a mind thing.
Well, perhaps she'll kind of level out once she wakes up again, now that she's back in the healing pod. But she's certainly acting kind of weird there. Okay, we was talking about the fan theories. And some fans had suggested that Gemma was an LMD. I don't see that. Of course, and now just as you also said, they also suggested that, because there's an indiscriminate amount of time from the end of season 6 when Enoch tells them we're going to change your lives, forever, and when she shows up at the cave, there's summarizing that Gemma and Fitz had their child, and this is something you brought up to me last time, and obviously blew right over my head. I didn't listen or whatever. I didn't understand it. But it certainly would make sense, mainly because we have no way of knowing how much time actually, because even Enoch was, when she asked him, said that she had considerable amount of time to heal you when you died briefly. She has how much time? A considerable amount. They're not saying what that is.
Right.
I'm still assuming within the next 10 episodes they're going to have to do a recap
of how
and kind
that
of show
all happened.
what happened between then and now.
Right.
And then I think we're going to learn maybe your question about where Fitz is. Did they have a baby? Is he with the baby? What's going? Like I said again, they must have had the baby or are still going to have the baby at some point because again, unless we're talking about branches of time, Deke's still there. And if Deke's still there, that meant his mother would still be there, and that his mother came from Jim and Fitz. So as far as Gemma being an LMD, though, like I said, I haven't seen any proof of it. I guess it wouldn't surprise me if it were to happen. I mean, this is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I guess anything could happen. But at this point, I haven't seen anything that would tend to make me believe that. Okay, so just like we surmised last on episode 1, we had read that there was a time element involved in the Zephyr, where eventually we get to the point where we said you had to get back on the Zephyr within a certain amount of time. Right. Okay, so that reared its head in this episode. And of course, it came up like 20 minutes before the Zephyr was going to leave, whether you're on the Zephyr or not. And of course, they're asking Gemma, said, "Well, how come you didn't tell us about that?" And she's saying, "Well, because we didn't know what when the window was open, how long." Still seems like she could have mentioned it. She could have said, "Hey, this is not a
finite
amount of time we have here. We don't know what it is, but there's going to reach a point where at some point this thing is going to tell us that we've got only so much time left to get back to the ship before it moves on to the next tide."
And I'm guessing at this point, once Gemma was out of the picture, this is what I don't get and I don't understand. When did Gemma start jumping in that?
They must have been
because she came to get May from the Shrike combat, like immediately as
so it seemed, right?
Well, and immediately because she already was in space somewhere, knowing she, and that's the other question I have. How did she knew it was going to happen, obviously, and knew that she had to
show up, right?
Knew that this was going to happen and was ready with
the pod
and everything to get her frozen and get her so that they could fix her. My question is, if this thing just jumps around time randomly, why did it go to her at that time?
Yeah, it's a good point because obviously they knew where to show up. Right. But I'm thinking that before then, they must have had this block of time they were using where they weren't chasing the chronocoms. They were basically preparing the ship for be able to make
space travel.
Right, for space travel or time travel. And also preparing, doing all the designs that were required. And again, like I said, to me, they're almost going to have to go back and kind of show you what happened there.
So I'm wondering now that we're talking about the time travel portion of this, I'm wondering if maybe the time travel is a little bit like yo-yo, where they kind of snap back to either current time or what's happening, like, where we're supposed to be in real time.
Okay, so we're talking about right now, or we're talking about before? Because right now, apparently, they're snapping to, and again, I'm assuming they're still following the chronicons wherever they're going.
But they're on whatever this time ribbon is, or
right,
whatever. But I'm wondering if that's part of this snapping of where they're going. So like they've snapped back to 31, okay, and now it's gone to like 50, and then they're gonna go to 60.
Yes, and okay, you'll say that the chronicons
and the reason probably that they didn't need to be in this area from the time 31 to probably where they're going to area 51, which I think was, generally speaking, right after World War II started. It was after World War II, but it was prior to space exploration, and I think that's kind of what pushed space exploration because of things that were happening. Now, whether or not those were Russian spy satellites or whatever that they thought were aliens, or indeed there were aliens, okay? But the whole point is I think that they're snapping to that part, because here now becomes the next thing, because the Red Skull was part of World War II.
Yep.
And that ended in 45. So I just feel like it's sometime in that 1945 to 1955 range when the first.
Well, so can we assume that? Okay, so when we're going to in whatever year it is, 1950, 55. Something is going on there that again where they could stop S.H.I.E.L.D. from happening. Since that's, as far as I know, that's still their goal. The next question is, okay, say that they had killed Freddy, they achieved their goal. Would they? How do you get back now? I mean, because you were just kind of following the next tide.
Are you talking about how the
chronicons or any of them
get back to normal time? Do they worry about that, or do they care about that?
Well, I would assume the chronicons do, because they want. That's what the whole point of.
But but a chronicon that is going to fix this situation, why would they care where they land up in time? They are indestructible.
They obviously cared, because otherwise they wouldn't have rushed back to the ship to make sure they got back on it, or wherever they're. They're doing it.
That's because the mission was not accomplished.
Right. Well,
they had to get back on the.
Like I say, at some point you should have a mechanism that, okay, we've achieved our goal. Now we don't need to keep jumping around in time. We can go back. And again, they haven't discussed that. But then again, she didn't discuss the timer. So there's obviously some data that's not been revealed yet.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that, again, they're going to have to go back and explain what happened.
Well, here's the thing. The first sightings of UFOs were in Roswell, New Mexico, were in 1947.
So do you think it was the chronicons that they were
recognizing? That's what I feel like. Here we go.
Which, again, we're kind of self-fulfilling destinies of... this is what happened, but this is how it happened, because we went back and...
Well, now you just filled in the gap, basically.
Right.
You just filled in what happened. So
very quantum leapy kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's still it makes the timeline make more sense.
Right. So, and it's still a fascinating thing. Okay, so because the timer thing came down to, and Enoch was not able to get back to the ship.
Yeah. He didn't
Again, right. Of all the people who you could leave behind, Enoch was the guy you could leave behind.
Sure, because he will still be there in 2000.
Right, and he will still be there. Chances are, when you land up in Roswell,
right,
you'll still be there, and you actually already have kind of boots on the ground.
Did he know where he was going? That was him. giant.
That's a good question. I'm not sure if he knows, but I'm pretty sure he would have a way to contact them wherever they ended up. You know, as long as they don't leave Earth, he's going to be there.
Right.
So I would assume just because he went ahead and stayed there and took a job as a bartender, wherever they go, he's going to be there if they want to reach out or if they need to reach out to him.
Oh, well, the only person I thought that maybe Gemma has the communicator for him because he gave it to Fitz when he left him on the ship when they were when they left Kitson. Yeah. You remember he told him, "Here, you don't need me anymore. If you need me, you can get in touch with me."
Did he ever use it?
We don't know. We don't know.
I'm talking about he never used it before then. I mean,
he gave it to him, and then that was the end of that.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Hey, don't get offended.
I'm not getting defended. I'm not getting defended or offended for that matter. Any of those things. Okay. So they left Enoch behind, and of course he's going to be a bartender for Koenig. And again, he's still spilling his guts to him. Of course, Koenig, that was the two things he said. I'm going to hire you, but you have to tell me about that shield outfit because I think I can do some things with them. And of course, he says, yeah, you will. And then, of course, he says, then I also want you to tell me everything you know about robots. And he said, because I have a fascination about them. He said, yes, so do your grandchildren. And of course, he kind of smiles when he tells him his grandchildren. I think he smiles because he knows that somewhere there's a woman that won't mind the fact that he's a chauvinist pig and still have children with him.
Well, it's also a different time, too.
Right. And pretty much he's going to find out that all the kids and the Koenig line are going to look exactly like Patton Oswalt, except for the girl. I think she might be an LMD. I don't think she's a real person. Everyone else looks like Patton Oswalt except for her.
Well, she is...
And they were part of the LMD program, so, and that's the only reason why she kicked Davis's butt so easily.
Maybe so.
It's also because she was a badass. Could be that, too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to go with that.
Okay, so let's talk about Daisy.
Okay.
Of course, Daisy was all about wanting to, going ahead and stopping Freddy, you were going to stop Hydra, save a whole bunch of lives. And Coulson was telling her, no, we can't do that because it's already happened. We can't interfere with it. And she tells Coulson, well, no offense, but that's not your call. But yet, when Coulson tells her to call Deke, suddenly she's telling him, hey, yeah, go kill Freddy. Well, that wasn't her call either.
Right.
And of course, Mac's sitting there wondering and said, okay, you're pulling a gun on Freddy. We'll put the gun down. He said, no, I was ordered to do it. So, well, who told you to do it? And he said, Daisy ordered me to do it. I got a feeling that somewhere here, maybe this next episode, Mac's going to have to pull Daisy aside and say, that wasn't, what are you doing? That's not your job.
Right.
Said, you should never put Deke in that position where you're making him have to decide whether to kill somebody or not when that's not your call.
Right. Okay. So, with that being said, now we're at a point where things that are going to happen from this point forward are all pretty much moot because nothing has changed and nor will it.
Right. To this point, right, they basically kept status quo.
Right.
Assuming that where they end up this time, where again they got to do some finagling to keep things status quo.
Well, we already know that they're going to Area 51.
Right, and that's pretty much where we're at. Okay, so
I'm guessing they're going sometime around 1947.
Okay, so why do you think 47?
47 is when the first sightings at Roswell, New Mexico.
Ooh, check out I didn't know that. Check out the big brain on Kathy. Ooh.
Yeah. I watch a lot of this alien crap on TV.
And of course, the plus side
Ancient aliens.
It also gives them a chance to rock some new duds.
Yeah, well, just yeah.
Well, it must be something because the shirt that Mac was wearing looked kind of 60-ish.
Very early 60, very early 60, or late 50.
And same thing.
It's really more 50s, I was thinking.
Yeah, and same thing with Coulson. And there's a picture of Coulson and Daisy sitting at a booth where she's wearing these real kind of loud 60s looking pants.
And maybe they jumped to there too. Here's the thing. I'm only feeling like that they may have went there during the 40s, only because, or late 40s, or had to been at some point. I mean, we'll find out Wednesday.
Another clue to that is they apparently run into Daniel Souza, who was Peggy Carter's partner from the SSR.
Oh, and that's the other point that we're trying to make here, is that it all is kind of coinciding with the Red Skull and Captain America going down.
Yep.
And that's all 40s.
Well, between 1945 and 1950.
Right.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying 47.
It was right after the World War II is when the SSR started. So right, that kind of just flows right in line.
Right.
So can't stop it in 1930. Now you need to come here and try to stop it before
the next time.
Right.
And that's why I felt like that was what the next timeline.
And that's kind of where we're at this point. So we're trying to, this is where they're going to end up. We know that the Chronocoms are probably still up to something.
Mm-hmm.
We got May issues to worry about, and we got also, which we haven't discussed a little bit, is Yo-Yo's freezing up when. I don't know if that's a mental thing.
I do too. She's got some issues right now that she's just going to have to get through.
I think if when push comes to shove, say that like Mac's in some kind of danger,
yeah,
that might inspire her to kind of get off the stick. I think the whole Shrike thing kind of messed with her head a little.
Well, and then she lost the boyfriend, and
that part. I mean, that was bad, but I think she's since then got back with Mac. So I don't.
I realize that, but I mean that was a traumatic experience for her.
Right. So, but anyway, I think the whole Shrike thing is kind of, like I said, I don't think it's a physical thing. I think it's more a mental thing.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong, but there is still that storyline to kind of play out.
Right.
So anyway,
Plus they had her in a really bad outfit in that timeline. So.
Okay, I didn't see that was a big problem with what she was wearing. But, again, I'm not a fashionista, so.
I would have not. I don't know. I just wouldn't have. That's not what I would have had her wearing.
What would you have had her wearing?
I don't know.
Not that. That's all you know. Right?
That's right.
Okay, so anyway, that's basically episode 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
If I was her, I would have protested. I ain't wearing this dumb outfit. I realize it's of the time, but it's not the one I wanted to wear. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
The smart thing was, no, just forget it. I didn't like it. Let's move on.
Okay. So anyway, that was episode 2. We got episode 3 this coming Wednesday. And then we'll find out a little more about what's going on. Like I said, maybe we'll actually get a glimpse of Fitz. They're probably saving that toward like the middle, like when they make the swing.
I don't know. If I was him, I'd say, this last season, get me in some of these damn shots.
And they say, am I getting paid still, even though I'm not in these things? Okay, so anyway, that's like I said, that's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode 2, and we'll come back again for episode 3. I'm Martin.
And I'm Kathy.
And this is Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge.
Bye.
Bye.
No, wait a minute.
Let's do
that again.
All right, sorry. This is Kathy and Martin's Coffee Binge.
No.
What?
This is Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge.
What are you wanting to do?
I want to say...
I'm Martin.
And I'm Kathy.
And we'll see you again in another Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge.
Bye.
That's so much different than what we did before.